Man, this is the next day of the Charlo Tony Harrison fight. Man, let me talk about the fight, man. I talked about it yesterday, but I'm gonna elaborate on it a little bit more today. I thought Jermall Charlo controlled the entire fight. Tony Harrison, he was on his back foot. And my thing about, if you're gonna fight a fight on your back foot, you have to outland and outpunch, or at least equal the punch output of the guy that's stalking you, because that shows that you're controlling the fight. But you can control a fight on your back foot, no doubt about it. But Tony Harrison did not control the fight on his back foot. It wasn't even close. You know what I'm saying? He looked timid. He looked resident of throwing punches. Now, he did catch Charlo with some good counters here and there throughout the round. And I'm not a guy that totally believe in copy box, but just looking at the fight, I didn't need copy box to tell me that Charlo outthrew and outlanded Tony Harrison yesterday. And I know some people that don't like Charlo, don't like PBC, or have a beef with other people that like these type of fighters, that like these fighters, Charlos, and other fighters. They're going to try to make a case that Tony Harrison won the fight. Trust me, everybody that watched that fight yesterday had Charlo winning the fight. Even probably the people that supported Tony Harrison had Charlo winning the fight. So I don't want to hear people come on here and say, well, Tony Harrison won 9 and he won 8, he won 7, he won 2 and 3, and I could find 2 other rounds it was close. Man, just stop. You got a lot of disingenuous people, man, that have an agenda and want to just put it out there just to troll people. The case of the matter is, that was a robbery. That fight was a robbery. And I don't like to say fighters got robbed, because I do have a standard of just knock the guy out, and then you take the judges totally out of it. But you have to show some discretion because everything is not all things is not everything. And in this case, you have to show discretion. You have to be able to look at the fight and say, okay, even though Jermall Charlo didn't knock him out, he still won the fight. Like, the man still won the fight. And for a decision like this to happen, the judges had already had it in their mind that they was gonna, if this fight was close, or, well, the fight wasn't even close. If the fight looked kind of competitive, we can take the fight from Charlo. And from that Fury Wilder fight, I'm telling y'all, a lot of people probably would disagree, but they heard a lot of people say that Fury won that fight. And boxing have a strange way of trying to correct things, like trying to they can correct the Fury versus Wilder fight, because that's already out there, but they can come through and say, oh, okay, well, we got that wrong, well, we're gonna get 2 wrongs, and then we're gonna make it right, in a sense that we're gonna rob Charlo, get Tony Harrison to fight, and you know what I'm saying, that's gonna give us a little bit more, give our credibility back. I don't know I don't know what they're thinking, because to look at that, I'm still waiting for them to come back and say, well, we announced the wrong winner, Charlo won the fight. That's what I'm still waiting on. I'm waiting on that the scorecards are wrong, that the scorecards got tallied wrong, and Charlo won the fight. But other than that, man, I don't know what to say. It was crazy, man. This reminded me of the Bradley-Pacquiao fight 1, when Pacquiao was, to me, clearly winning the fight. He clearly won 8-4. Yes, Timothy Bradley had some moments in there, and yes, you can give him 4 rounds. But to me, this fight is even worse than that, because I can't even find 4 rounds to get at Tony Harrison. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can't find 4 rounds to get into. I gave Tony Harrison 2 rounds. I gave him 1 round because he was more competitive in that round than the round I gave him, when he countered Charlo, and he staggered, kind of looked like he staggered Charlo. And I gave him that round, and I gave him another round, and I struggled to give him that round. So I can't. Somebody show me where they gave 4 rounds to Tony Harris. Like, legitimately, you gave 4 rounds to Tony Harris, and you can tell me why you gave him those 4 rounds. And when I look at those 4 rounds, I can see why you gave it to him, because I didn't see it, man. We watched Floyd and Purnell and plenty of fighters with fights throwing less punches but being more accurate. Cut it out. Charlo hit a lot of glove. No, 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 man. Stop it. Stop it. Look. Look. You show me in. Okay. Okay. So tell me, what 8 rounds did you give? How many rounds? What 7 rounds did you give Tony Harrison? You got to tell me, where are the 7 rounds you gave Tony Harrison? Because if you're going to tell me that Charlo hit a lot of glove, Charlo threw more punches. Now, I know it's a round by round basis, but I'm going to go back every round. Every round, Charlo was more aggressive, and just about every round, Charlo threw and landed more punches. You tell me the rounds that the 7 rounds that you gave Tony Harrison. Yeah. Both of the Charlos didn't look great. They didn't look great. But you don't have to look great to win the fight, my dude. You don't have to Dairy Way. You don't have to look great to win the fight. It's been plenty of fighters that did not look great. Still, Charlo still beat Tony Harris. Still beat him. Now, you can say the other Charlo looked bad, but the first Charlo didn't look worse than the second. The second Charlo, that fight was more competitive. That was a more competitive fight. Now, that first fight, yeah, Charlo, he didn't look sharp. You know, he wasn't on his game, didn't look sharp. I thought he was a little tense, that he was looking for a big punch in a lot of those rounds. You know what I'm saying? But he was winning those rounds. Tony Harrison was not winning those rounds. That's what I'm saying. And Charlo is the champion, my dude. He is the champion. The champion, even if you're going to say, okay, it was some close rounds up in there, most of the close rounds go to the champion. Like, that's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? Because you have to separate yourself from the champion to win the belt from the champion. You gonna try to tell me that Tony Harrison won that fight, that he separated himself from Charlo when he won that fight? Come on, man. You being disingenuous, dude. And didn't land that many more punches. I'm usually with you, but you off this. Hold on, man. Okay, since I'm off, tell me what rounds you gave Harrison, and I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna look at the fight. Tell me all the winning rounds you gave Harris. Now you got to be able to tell me the round. Don't tell me you got to go back and look at the fight, because if you got to go back and look at the fight, that means you're gonna go back and you're gonna try to get some rounds where you seen him win the fight. I didn't see the man win the fight, plain and simple. Man, the Charlos both look awful. Yeah, they did look awful. I'm not saying they didn't look. They looked impressive, but in the case of the Harris fight, Harris did not look good in the fight. If Charlo looked awful, then what was Tony Harrison grade? If you got Charlo looking awful, what was Tony Harrison grade? Harris won round 3 and 5, and I could not. Yeah, okay, Harrison. I'm with dude. Harrison won 2 rounds. 2 rounds, and I struggled to give him one of those rounds. The other round I thought he deserved, because that was a nice counter. He was using his jab in that round, and he countered Charlo on the way coming in with a beautiful counter and staggered him. Now, I gave him that round. Now, I'm trying to struggle where Dairy Way. I don't know if you trying to troll or whatever, or you got a beef and you don't like the Charlos or whatever. I don't know. But you have to give me the rounds that you gave Tony Harris, man. You have to, or I have to call you out. I have to call you out on it, man, if you don't give me the rounds that you gave that man. Like I said, I gave Tony Harrison 2 rounds, man. To me, that was a classic robbery, man. That's a robbery. That's what you call it, because they treated Charlo like he was the challenger and he was the champion. He wasn't the challenger, but no, he was the champion, man, and they treated that man like he was a challenger, man. And that was awful. That was awful. That was an awful decision, man. I'm still waiting for them to say, man, we got it wrong, man. You know, Jimmy Lanning Jr., we gave him the wrong scorecards. He announced the wrong winner. That's my only explanation. No. Okay, look, you keep on saying I'm tripping. Dairy Way, just give me the rounds you gave Harrison. Then I can go back and I can look at and see, I can see what point you're trying to make. There's no way that the cards were unanimous decision and Charlo swept the champ. Yeah, look, it is what it is, man. I'm telling y'all, This is the Tyson Fury Wilder backlash. I'm telling y'all. And this kid, and they, hold on, I scored it 8-4 or 7-5. Okay, so what rounds did you give Derriway? What rounds did you give Tony Harrison? You showed me in that fight where Tony Harrison won 8 rounds. Man, dude, how long have you been watching boxing? How long have you been watching boxing, Derriway? Because if you gave that man 8-7 rounds, boy, I don't see how you gave that man 8 or 7 rounds. I don't even see how you gave him no more than 2 rounds, to be honest with you. But maybe you can stretch 4 rounds in there for Harris, and that's it. That's the limit. That's like stretching the rubber band, and the rubber band about to pop. If you can give Tony Harrison more than 4 rounds. I am 26 in boxing and watch boxing for 20 years. Okay, look, dude, if you 26 and you've been watching boxing for 20 years, when you were 6 years old, you did not know and understand what you was watching from a scientific standpoint. Look, I've been watching boxing for a long time too. I was watching boxing since I was 8-9 years old. My uncle's watching the Hearns Leonard fight. I'm 42 years old. I've been watching boxing way longer than you. And I've been watching boxing with an understanding longer than you because I'm older than you. So if you've been watching boxing since you was 6 years old and you've been watching boxing for 20 years, how many of those years have you been understanding boxing? See, it's a thing of looking at it and understanding what you're watching. I've been watching basketball, football for a long time. I watched the 85 Bears when I was 9 years old. I didn't understand the rules and all that stuff of what I was watching until I was like 13, 14 years old. So don't give me that you've been watching boxing for 20 years. How long have you been understanding the sport of boxing from a scoring standpoint? I'm actually boxing, and my uncle is a coach who has worked with Chop Corley. And okay, that's good, but that's your uncle. I'm talking about your understanding. I ain't talking about your uncle understanding. I'm talking about your understanding. Where is your understanding of when did you start understanding boxing and how to break down scoring a boxing match? That's what I'm asking. I'm not trying to denigrate you or say that you don't know nothing about boxing, but I'm trying to say, even if you've been watching boxing for 20 years and you start watching when you were 6, you were not understanding boxing for 20 years. That's my thing. But look, it is what it is, man. I just know that man did not win 4 rounds. Honestly, since I was 14, 15, I've been okay. Since you was 14, 15. Okay, so your understanding of boxing, knowledge of boxing has been like what? Scoring fights, what? 8 years or something like that. Okay, that's long enough. But you got to tell me the 8 or 7 rounds you gave Harrison. You can't tell me Tony Harrison was more aggressive. You can't tell me Tony Harrison was coming forward in the fight. You can't tell me Tony Harrison threw and landed more punches than Charlo. You can't tell me that because Tony Harrison was trying to play the counterpunch game the whole night, and he didn't throw enough counterpunches. And when you fighting off your back foot, man, you have to either match the guy and punch output and punches landed, or you have to exceed what he's doing because you already giving up ground. We have watched too many fights where guys have won fights. I watched a lot of bad decisions over my life. Yeah, look. Yeah, we have. Yeah, I agree. We have watched a lot of fights where guys got bad decisions. That don't mean it's right. That doesn't mean that this fight right here is the right decision. I'm not going there. I watched the bad decision between Pernell Whitaker and Chavez Sr. You know what I'm saying? I seen the bad decision of De La Hoya Trinidad. I seen some bad decisions, man. Thurman won the fight. And I'm going to tell you why Thurman won the fight. Because unlike Tony Harrison, Thurman was on his back foot. He was fighting well off his back foot. And then another thing, at least 4 or 5 of those rounds, Thurman went forward in that fight. So he wasn't on his back foot the whole night. And Thurman landed, in my opinion, Thurman landed the harder shots. And it was separated by round by round by round. I thought Thurman won the fight 7-5. You can't tell me that Tony Harrison did work like Thurman in that Thurman Porter fight. Don't tell me that Tony Harrison looked like Thurman in that Porter fight. It was only one round that Tony Harrison stood his ground, and that was round 12. And he lost that round. He stood his ground finally. He had a nice jab, but he didn't throw it consistent throughout the rounds. He'd throw 4 or 5, 6 jabs, in the beginning of the round, and then he'd stop throwing his jab. No, Tony Harrison went forward in the 12th round. You maybe can find another round where he went forward, but for the most part, the man was on his back foot. And then another thing, Tony Harrison know he lost the fight. You know how I know Tony Harrison know he lost the fight? When they announced the goddamn winner, that motherfucker was so adulated. He was so overly excited because he like, man, I got this decision. He looked just like Bradley looked in that first Pacquiao fight. He was like, man, they gave me the decision. Wow. Man, fighters know when they lost a fight, man. Tony Harrison lost that fight, man. But, hey, it is what it is, man. That's why I like knockouts. Because knockouts eliminate all that stuff. All the bad decisions and everything. No. Charlo didn't think he lost the fight. I think Charlo was mad because he didn't get the knockout. That's why Charlo was mad. You know what I'm saying? He was mad because he didn't get the knockout. But I'm going to pivot to something that I wanted to talk about, and that's Charlo and Derrick James. See, Charlo used to be a really good boxer, man. A really good boxer puncher that had some punching power. Since he got with Derrick James, he's been a headhunter. He's been a guy that's looking for the big punch. And to me, trying to make a pure boxer like Charlo was when he was with what's her name, you can mess him up, because you can see in that fight that he will box and then he will try to throw hard punches, and he will box. See, he will not stick with what works and see if that's working, and then if that's not working, he can go to the puncher's mode. But he was in between styles, and to me, the last couple fights, or the last 2 or 3 fights that Charlo has fought, you can see a lot of indecision in his style. And I don't know if Derrick James is good for him, man. Now, Derrick James did give him this one thing, how to sit on his punches and throw punches and land hard punches. Yes. But is that going to be good for him in the long run? I don't know, man, because he's looking more and more like a headhunter. He's looking more and more like he wants to try to be a knockout artist. But if people want to be disingenuous and say that Tony Harrison won that fight, I'm going to let y'all go ahead and do that. Y'all go ahead and do that, because that man didn't win that fight. He did not take the belt from Charlo. If Charlo was the challenger, then I still say that would have been a bad decision. But let's just say Charlo was a challenger. If he was a challenger, okay, I can see where some people are coming from. I can try to see. But Charlo was the champion. And you're going to try to tell me that Tony Harrison went in there and did enough to win the fight versus the champion. Come on, man. Y'all tripping, man. Tony Harrison lost the fight. Yeah, Kovalev won the first fight versus Ward. I had to correct myself on that. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. You haven't had to take the belt for years now, but my standards is still the same. You got to go take the belt from the champion, man. But let me get out of here, man. Thanks for coming through, man. Nice discussion. I'll be back later. The big Charlo, now you could make a case for the big Charlo losing. Now, yeah, you right, man. You could make a case for the big Charlo losing. You can't make no case for the smaller Charlo losing, man. You can't make no case. There is no case there.